welcome to my channel. My name is Anna and I'm so excited that you've joined me. My goal here is to talk about motherhood and all the joys and struggles that come along with that. Last week, my first video ever, which I'm so excited about, was more of like a tips and tricks kind of video. Today, I just wanted to share with you my journey with breastfeeding. If you watched last week's video, you know I have a 3-year-old and an almost 1-year-old. Literally, she is 9 days away from being a year-old, and that is crazy. The 3-year-old is named Heidi and my 1-year-old is Georgia, and I had the opportunity to breastfeed both of them for at least a little bit of time. So I've had two, I would say almost opposite breastfeeding experiences, and honestly I would talk to anyone who asked me about them. I think it's super interesting, and I didn't have a lot of women talking to me about breastfeeding before I gave birth and started it, so I was really undereducated. So I guess the reason I wanted to share my journeys with you is that, I don't know, maybe I can help you out if you're about to breastfeed or have breastfed before or might, I don't know somebody who's breastfeeding. Maybe you can direct them here. I just want to let you know just two versions of the way breastfeeding could go and kind of give you just an idea of what I wish I knew and how things went for me and mistakes I made and successes I've had, and just share that with you. I just want to make it clear when I start out that I am just sharing my experiences and my journeys. I am not trying to shame or put down any other women that have had a different experience or different feelings. If I express feelings of, I don't know, this is hard or I didn't like this, I don't want you to think that I'm not grateful for the opportunities I've had to be able to breastfeed my babies. I just want to put that out there as a disclaimer. I am very grateful for the opportunity I've had to breastfeed my babies, and I'm not, when I say something's hard, that's all I'm saying is that it's hard. I don't want you to think that I'm not grateful, and I'm very aware of the struggle women have with breastfeeding, and I want to be sensitive of that. So no, I'm just sharing my journey and my experience and the joys and the struggles that I've had. So the reason I thought about making this video was because I recently hit 300 ounces in my freezer stash of breast milk. I just had to share because I'm just so excited that I was able to do that, because I had such a hard time producing milk for Heidi, my 3-year-old. So we'll start there. When I had Heidi, I was 20 years old, about 4 months shy of 21, and I was still in college. And she was born August 2nd, so right at the beginning of August. And if you know anything about schools in the US, we start school in August. So I had a baby August 2nd, and I had to go back to school. She wasn't even 3 weeks old yet when I went back to school. She was 2.5 weeks old when I had to start heading back to school, which means at 2.5 weeks old, I had to have bottles pumped for her to take, and I had to take a pump with me to school and pump in between classes, and then bring it back and feed it to her, and she had to have a bottle at like 2 weeks old so I could make sure she would take one while I was gone. And that was hard. That was really hard, and I don't think I let myself feel how hard it was. I had other things going on postpartum with Heidi, but I don't think I let myself recognize how hard that was, that she was literally less than 3 weeks old and I was pumping and giving her bottles, which I know women do, but it was hard. And women who do that will say it is hard, but I didn't let myself experience that. I kept telling myself I should be able to do this. I've got this. I'm a mom. God made my body to produce milk. I've got this, which was a really good attitude, but I think it would have been helpful if I just recognized that this is hard, and that's okay. So I ended up joining a Facebook group for working pumping moms. So I wasn't working, but I was in school, so it was a similar experience as working moms could have, just kind of on a smaller scale. I had to pump and then bring bottles back for Heidi. Some good stuff did come out of that Facebook group, and I'm sure women were helped with that, but it was harmful for me. And this isn't to throw shade on those women or the Facebook group or any women or Facebook group that's out there, because it was, the goal of the group wasn't to harm me, it was to help. And I think it would have been helpful in a lot of cases, but it was very much set up as like breastfeeding works for every woman, for every body, for every baby, and do everything you can to not have to introduce formula. And it wasn't, I just want to be careful that I'm not putting anyone down here, but that was definitely how it was presented in that group, that formula was fine and it was good and it was a great alternative to breast milk to use if you really couldn't, but let's be honest, if you couldn't, you weren't trying, honey, was kind of the vibe I got, which is scary. I learned in this group an equation for how many ounces your baby needs while you're gone, and I like stuck to that. And when I pumped, I wasn't getting anything. Less than an ounce on each side, no matter how long I went between pumping. And I didn't know that that wasn't right. Okay, so my baby's really small, so that's fine. So my milk supply didn't increase from when I started at less than 3 weeks old till 4 months. I was still getting less than an ounce, maybe an ounce if I was really lucky, every time I pumped. But I didn't think anything was wrong, or if I did, it was quickly blown away as I asked in the Facebook group as, no, that's what your baby needs. What you pump, that's what your baby needs. Your baby only needs this many ounces. Make sure nobody gives her more, or she'll start getting used to needing more, and then you won't be able to keep up. Just keep her right on as much as you pump. And maybe that is good advice. I don't know, but for me and my situation, it was not accurate. But I could not see that. And like I said, I had other things going on postpartum that were clouding my judgment, I guess. The long and short of it is I was starving Heidi, and I didn't know that. And my husband and I didn't realize that. I will say people in my life noticed, and they tried to say, oh, I just think your baby's hungry. Oh, I think she needs to eat. Oh, that baby, she chugged that milk. She wants some more. And I would just get so angry and like defensive, like, no, this is all my baby needs. This is what I made. That's what I know. Like, she only needs this many ounces. You're just trying to feed her too much. So defensive about it. I just could not hear the truth that I was starving my baby. It's so obvious now. If I look back at 4-month pictures of her, she's tiny. It's alarming. I mean, her eyes are sunken in. You can see her neck, like her head coming off her neck. It's so skinny there. Her clothes are just so baggy on her, and her skin looks bad. I mean, she looks like she's starving. We just had no idea. Like I said, there were so many other things going on postpartum. It's hard to know, but I just want to let you know that it's okay. I mean, if you feel like you're not making enough, if someone's saying your baby seems like they're still hungry, listen. Listen to your baby. But listen to others too, because they can see things that you can't as a mom. As a mom, especially when you're sleep deprived and if you're working or going to school or things like that, you've got so much on your plate, and who knows what's going on mentally if you're struggling with postpartum depression or anxiety. Listen, that's my advice, I guess, is to just, these people that are telling you your baby is hungry, what they're saying is not reflecting on you as a mother and your ability to produce milk. They're looking out for your baby. They really are. Because I had people telling me that and I didn't listen. Until I took Heidi to her 4-month appointment. If you've ever been to a well child appointment, you kind of know they will weigh them and then they show their weight on a graph. And it'll be kind of like a curve, so you can see where your baby is on that curve, if they're, the bottom percentage or the top percentage. You just want them to stay on the same curve. So if they're at the bottom, they just need to stay there, or if they're at the top, they should stay there. There shouldn't be a bunch of jumping back and forth. Heidi was tiny. So she was kind of on the bottom and the bottom. So we had what they do like at birth, 6 weeks, and then 2 months, and then 4 months. So in that 2 months, between 2 and 4 months, so here's 2 months, this is 4 months. I mean, she lost weight in 2 months. 2 months of feeding a baby milk at all the right times, every 3 to 4 hours, she was getting a bottle of milk, and she lost weight. I cried. I cried so much. I couldn't stop. I'm not crying now. I'm not going to. Everyone who was saying that my baby needed more food was right. I mean, I was starving my baby. I was giving her as much as my body could produce, and I was starving her. It wasn't enough. Either the amount, the quantity, or the fat content, the calorie content was not enough. I was literally starving my child, and I had no idea. Where was that motherly instinct that I was supposed to have? Like, I was supposed to be able to produce milk for my baby, and I was supposed to instinctively know if she was healthy or not. And I didn't. And I introduced formula, and I started using formula with Heidi, and I kept pumping for about 2 more months. So it was about January. She was 6 months old, and that's when I eventually quit pumping because, like I said, less than an ounce on each side every time I pump. Sometimes less than an ounce together. And being in school, I was like, I'm done. I'm not hooking up to this pump anymore. And we just did formula. And it was such a good thing. I'm glad, obviously, that we introduced formula. I tell that story to make the point that sometimes that breastfeeding culture can be toxic because it can tell you should be able to produce everything your baby needs. Your baby doesn't need anything else but you. Your breast milk is enough. What you make, what you pump is enough for your baby. And that just might not be true. you just might not be able to make enough milk. You might not be able to make any milk. Your milk calorie or fat content just might be too low. There might have been a problem with latching early on, so your supply never came in full force. Maybe you just can't get the hind milk that's fattier. There are so many factors that go into breastfeeding. To say that every woman can produce enough milk for her baby is just a fallacy, and I believed it. So I just want to relieve that pressure, I guess, for anyone watching this who's nursing and struggling. It's okay. It is okay if you cannot supply milk for your baby. It might hurt, you might feel guilt, you might be sad, and it is okay to mourn the experience that you could have had, to feel sad, but do not feel guilty because your baby is getting fed and there are people around you who are caring for you and caring for your baby as well. So that was my breastfeeding journey with Heidi, pretty much. I exclusively nursed for about 4 months until I was informed my baby was starving. And then I tried pumping and nursing. She pretty much went on a nursing strike. She just loved the bottle, so she didn't want to nurse anymore. So when I first introduced formula, I would nurse her and then I would give her a bottle. Well, so she knew that bottle was coming. She's like, I'm not nursing, the bottle's way faster. So she stopped nursing, but I kept pumping, and I would be lying to say that was easy. Pumping is not super fun. No matter how many times I hook up to the pump, I always just kind of feel like, I'm just a cow right now. And it's not the most pleasant feeling. So then after she kind of stopped nursing because the bottle was easier, I pumped for another 2 months until about 6 months. I started back up the second semester of college. I said, I'm done. I'm not taking that pump back to school. So Heidi got breast milk for 6 months. And that's fine. My goal was a year. My goal was maybe longer than a year. And I didn't reach it. And that was sad and hard to come to terms with. But okay, looking back, like, that was not a thing I needed to stress out about. I was able to feed my baby. It's sad that she was starving and I didn't notice. That's why we go to well child appointments. That's why we take our babies in. That's why we make sure they're healthy. I am so thankful for well child appointments that show me that my baby needs to gain more weight. But yeah, now Heidi's 3 years old and she's fine, and the fact that she only got breast milk exclusively for 4 months hasn't changed a thing. She's a little genius. I feel like there's so much more in my heart that I could express about my breastfeeding journey with Heidi, but I'm not able to articulate it very well, I guess. Even looking at notes, I'm struggling. I just want to express that it's okay if you cannot feed your baby breast milk. I guess the overarching theme I want you to hear from this is that it's okay. It's painful maybe and hard, but it's okay. Anyway, on a happier note, let's learn about Georgia and my experience with her. It was much different from the start, partly because I knew what I was getting into. I'd done it before, so I kind of had more of an idea of what it was supposed to look like and supposed to feel like, and also I wasn't afraid of formula. Whereas before I was like, breastfeed, breastfeed, breastfeed. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna breastfeed as long as I can. But the moment I think she's hungry, she's getting extra, because I was so terrified of starving another child and I wasn't going to do it. But that never happened. She latched on right away in the hospital. She nursed really well. Probably for about 10 months, we were able to nurse exclusively. She would have bottles when I would go on dates or something. That's another thing. I'm not in school anymore, so with Georgia, I didn't have to introduce a bottle. I didn't have to give her a bottle. I don't even remember. I don't know when the first time I gave Georgia a bottle was, but it was a while. I really wanted to make sure that she had a good latch. If you know anything about breastfeeding, when the baby first latches on, they're getting kind of thinner, lighter milk to start. If they want to get the thicker and the higher calorie content milk, then they have to work harder for it. They have to suck a little bit harder and really spend some time on it. But in a bottle, you can't control that. They're getting the good stuff the whole time at the normal bottle speed. So that was more of my fear of introducing a bottle too early, because I think that's what happened with Heidi, is that the bottle's easier. You have to kind of work for it when you nurse. And then about 10 months old was when she started to get teeth, a little bit before then. But while they were still small, it didn't bother me. But as they got bigger and bigger, she had teeth, and I felt it. I was worried about biting. A lot of women experience maybe their babies biting them, and that's what terrified me. Georgia never bit me. That was not the pain. It was just a constant rubbing of her teeth. And it hurt really, really badly. I mean, it was painful. And I tried different positions, which worked for a little bit until her other tooth came in, and then no position helped. And I would get in pain and tense and frustrated, and she would get tense and frustrated, and we would both be crying. And I finally said, that's enough. I can't do this. It's not healthy for either of us to be this upset at nursing. So I made the decision to pump and give her bottles. And I kind of had in my brain that I would pump and give her bottles and not really be able to keep up, and then go buy some formula to supplement what I was able to pump. But I've been able to pump extra and get 300 ounces in my freezer, which is unbelievable, and I'm so thankful for that. It's been amazing. That being said, I am extremely excited to be done. She's turning a year on September 28th, and I am putting the pump away. I'm done. I'm done with it. And there are many reasons for that. This is probably the part about breastfeeding that I felt the most guilt about, is quitting and being done. I mean, you have to stop eventually. I don't know, I've just felt some guilt about that. Like, I should pump and give her breast milk longer. I should give her that immunity, those nutrients. I should be doing this. But I don't want to. I don't want to have to lug the pump around when I'm going out on a date. I just don't want to. I want to wear dresses and not have to like strip down to pump. I'm really, really excited to buy new bras that don't have these annoying clips here. I'm really excited about that, and I've been looking forward to that for a long time. My goal was to breastfeed for a year, and when that year mark comes, I'm done. I'm working really hard to not feel guilt about that. I'm excited about it. I'm really excited for the freedom that comes with not being breastfeeding anymore, and just kind of those little joys like getting a new bra and being able to wear dresses. And I'm just trying to focus on that excitement, I guess, rather than the guilt that comes with thinking like, oh, I should be going longer, I need to be giving her breast milk till she's 2. I guess honestly the guilt I feel is that I'm stopping when I'm still producing milk. Like with Heidi, I stopped because I really wasn't producing anything anymore, so I almost feel like it's so wrong of me to stop, like to literally stop my supply when I'm still producing. I've still got the milk there, I might as well just keep it coming and give her the milk, right? It's so good for her. That's the guilt I feel, and I'm working on getting through that. Yes, I'm going to be cutting off my supply, which feels, I don't know, maybe it feels wasteful. It's what's best for me, honestly. I'm excited about it. I've been looking forward to it, and it's gonna give me a lot more peace. It's another one of those things that's kind of hard to articulate, I guess. It's hard to talk about the guilt you feel about something and then still express the desire to do it. Like, I tell myself that guilt is there for a reason. It's there to keep me going. It's there to correct me when I'm wrong. But I don't think it's wrong to stop. I have reached my goal. I have provided nutrients for my baby for a whole year. If I didn't provide a single ounce of breast milk for Georgia, that would still be okay. That's still not wrong. So I just keep telling myself that guilt that's telling you that you've got the milk, you should keep giving it to her. You need to keep pumping and giving her milk and giving her those nutrients and the immunity that comes from you. All that's going on in my head, I just keep telling myself, you have done so much. I need to stop focusing on what I could still be doing and focus on what I've already done, because there's so much that I've already done. To discount that because I'm stopping is just not healthy. So in 9 days, I'm going to be done with my breastfeeding journey with my second child. Part of the coolness of having that 300 ounces in the freezer is that Georgia will continue to get my breast milk long after I've stopped. So that's really encouraging too. But overall, I would say that even though both experiences were vastly different, I have had good experiences with breastfeeding both times. So I feel like that was kind of a long-winded way to tell you about breastfeeding and my experience with it, but I hope you found it interesting. Like I said, I could really talk about this forever. I love talking about nursing and giving birth and postpartum. I'm pretty passionate about postpartum specifically, and I will be making a video on that. But I just want to share with anybody I can just someone else's experience. So if I can just get my story out there, maybe I can help another woman like me who was struggling or will be struggling someday. If this video helped you out or was interesting in any way, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Share it with your breastfeeding moms. If you want to hear more about my experience with motherhood, you can go ahead and hit the subscribe button and tap that bell icon so you can be notified every time I post, which will be every Friday. Thank you guys so much for watching. It really means a lot to me. Bye.